Hello. I promised I'd show you progress on the slow stitching, which I was doing last night, so I have something to show you. It's the sewing pouch. Everything's all basted down now, ready to stitch onto.
You see, these bits, the way they're all rucked up, I kind of was going for that. And I wanted all the wrinkles shown, and I'm showing you in evening light because there's a lamp emphasizing the lighting on it. I think it all adds interest. The roughness of it and the fact that little folds are created by these very makey-uppy stitches. I just wanted something blue happening on top of the red. But something that would look really bad in another style of stitching is something that's a virtue, I think, in this kind of stitching, because it becomes something very, gives it richness. All right, so here's my kind of what I call my faux Boro in action. And the needle I have for this is supposed to look like a Japanese Boro needle, but it isn't. It's a doll making needle. But it's very long and it has a big enough head for a thick thread to go through. And I don't have the right thread for Boro stitching either. But what I do have is faux Boro thread. That's what I call it, which just means fake, doesn't it? It is a crochet thread, and it's not quite white. I've just included what it looks like white as well. That's dyed with blackberries, that one. Or I could have one dyed with hawthorn. And I have various different shades of creamy, greeny colours to just try and add more interest. I'm going to choose the pinky one to go over, do a bit of stitching on this area here, because a pinkish cast across this would be very nice, I think. And my basting stitch there, the invisible basting stitch I learned, will kind of show through a little bit as well. So we'll have a go at that. I saw some Japanese tailors doing this stitch and they were amazing at it. And I'm not. So don't expect me to be. But the idea of I understand the idea of the needle. They were working with a heavy cotton, or maybe it was denim. And it's quite a physical stitch, which I love. I can't remember if they took a little back stitch at the beginning, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm trying to do a straight line and running stitch. So the needle is kind of handy for trying to get your line straight. Now, compared to them, I'm not going to do a good job. But do go and look for Boro stitching, Japanese tailors, and you'll see guys making what look like, I'm probably not saying the right name for them, but they look like a short kimono. And they're doing it on that cotton or denim. And oh my goodness, it's so beautiful to watch. It really is. They did this weird thing at the end of the row, and I'll show you. It's lovely. They came out in a U shape, and I thought that was so weird, mind-bendingly weird and wonderful. So I'll show you that as well. I don't want to have my U shape sticking out too far though, because I'm going to use this pouch for sewing things and be going in and out of it a lot. So I don't want it to catch on things. So they were doing this, were picking up quite a lot of stitches. And then they were very energetically, because it was very thick, sort of denim or heavy linen or cotton or something they were working on. They were then hauling their fabric across the right. And holding this with my left hand to do this because it's wonderful to watch the stitches coming through. But that is the stage that when they were doing it, I'm getting all tangled and everything doing it. But when they were doing it, the needle goes pock when it goes through the fabric, and then it goes whoosh when it's going through the stitches. And that's why I'm saying it's beautiful watching these guys doing it. Go and have a look for a video on it. Now, you see the U shape at the end? They left that U quite long loop, but you can see how that could get caught and things. But I am going with that idea of leaving everything looking very ragged and aged, because I know a little bit of the history of Boro now from looking up how people were using it to extend the life of things they were sleeping under, their bedding that they were sleeping under. So it's kind of the poor people's patchwork quilt, really. But they're very prized, almost art pieces now, because they're so beautiful, because they have a history of being patched over and over again. And so everything I'm doing is faux in a way, because I'm kind of faking that a little bit. Because obviously all my things aren't really aged. But I'm going with that kind of very patched look and making a beautiful art thing of it, you see. I'm approaching it like a work of art. So the layering and everything is something that comes from that idea. And that really appealed to me about all the different textures and layers. So that's my fake Boro stitch, and that's why they use the long needle, I reckon, because they're getting a straight line when they're running along a line of running stitch. So there are a few things that I've done sort of underneath that kind of stitch, that this is going to be layered on top of it, going in different directions and everything. And the underneath stitching, some of it I did with the intention of softening up particular elements that were very strong elements, like this really strong colour here. I had another square of that and sort of brought it out in those little seed stitchy kind of shapes to soften that up a bit, and it's starting to get a slightly botanical thing to it, and actually I'm loving the stitching on the other side as well, that the roughness of it, and I even prefer the seed stitch on that side. But of course, you can't really do that on the inside if it's an object you're going to use for storing, sewing things. It's just going to get all caught. So my plan is to use felt on the inside. I have some more of that lovely orange. I have some greens or reds as well. I don't have enough orange to do the whole thing, but this is the way the pouch folds, you see. And there'll be some denim. I have saved some denim for along this edge to strengthen it. And then I have my cord, which actually came with the quilting stuff. So I'm going to use that cord. I just put a little bit of dye on it. And that's the way the pouch goes, apparently, when you make them. But I do have an innovation to the way of making the pouch that I'd be really into doing. And I think I don't see why it wouldn't be doable. Because I like the threads hanging out bit, and I did make very much a thing of it. I worked threads into layers and everything in it. That'll have more stitching over it, so those threads are going to be going nowhere. They'll stay well put. I'm thinking that instead of doing, when I put a backing on, instead of then turning it inside out so you have nice, neat, turned down seams like that, I'd like very much to have scraggy seams. So I might sew up the seams on the outside of my pouch, have the pouch in there, But come along, and I actually have to add a little bit there. Come along and do my sewing up along the side on the outside. Because I really want to make a thing of that really peasant, scraggly look. Because I'm a scraggly peasant, you see, myself. And I ain't ashamed of it. So, and it's going to be beautiful with the tie. That's another element that I want to, think about. Or I keep putting that back on as I'm working all my different layers of stitching. And I'll keep going with the layers of this, going in different directions. A little T-bar shape of that. This little cross thing, that's actually a bit I kept off a pair of jeans. And anything else that just occurs to me at the time. And see where it gets me. So that's the process so far. I hope you enjoyed seeing this.